Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Mets, Jets, and Knicks fans. My name is Nick, aka Goody, and with me is my old man, aka the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. How about those Mets? How about those Mets? Man, I in all my life and all my following of sports, I don't know if I've ever got a week, 10 days, whatever it is, of just pure joy and monumental moments. It's just been absolutely amazing, and it's been a pleasure to watch. As Mets fans, we feel like we deserve this. Talk to me, big guy. How are we feeling about those Mets?
Oh, you got to feel really pumped. I mean, I'm so excited with the Mets right now, the way they've been playing. I would imagine, Nick, in your lifetime, this is the most exciting. I mean, this is better than 2000, obviously, and better than 2015, right? For
Yeah.
you. The only thing I can compare this to, frankly, is 86. And 86 was pretty momentous in just the way everything went down. I mean, we didn't expect to be there. And like you had the Houston game 6, if I remember, game against Houston. All you young people look that up. Houston game versus Houston in the 86 playoffs. And then, of course, the big game versus the Boston Red Sox where, ball goes through Buckner's legs, that whole thing. I mean, that was so unlikely. It was amazing, right? I mean, we everyone thought you'd lost by that point, But the better part about this is that our players actually stepped up and made it happen with ultimate heroic plays. So that in a way I can see being more exciting because listen, when Mookie hits that ground ball and it goes to Buckner, you're like, oh geez, game's over. And it somehow goes through his legs. I mean, that's almost like the whole black cat thing. I mean, it's just weird,
Right.
But this is, I think, better and maybe more special because when we were down, we actually have done amazing things to win and to come back and to succeed. So I think that might carry a little more weight in longevity.
Listen, there's nothing about this team that's lucky. Okay. This team, they get it done, and they get it done by playing sound baseball and stepping up in huge moments. And it's a from top to bottom thing. It's an entire team effort. As you said to me the other day when I texted you about Marte, you were like, everybody contributes. That's what this team has been all about. And last night, Citi Field seemed absolutely electric. The audio of when Lindor hits the grand slam was just, it sounded like that place was shaking. I've heard people, Evan Roberts, who obviously has been in the house for a lot of great Mets moments. He said it's the loudest he's ever heard Citi Field. It just so cool, man. I heard Shea get really loud a few times back in my day, and we know Shea used to shake a little bit, both when planes went over and when big Met moments happen. I remember it shaking when Andy Chavez made that catch over the wall. But this team, as you said, it is the best stretch that I've ever seen. You got that 2015 stretch where we get Cespedes, Wilmer with the crying and all that. That was cool, but obviously not as big and as momentous as something like this is. And, now in just a small amount of time, we have the Lindor home run to beat the Braves. Then you have the Alonso home run in the top of the ninth to move on and get out of the wild card series against the Brewers. And now you have the Lindor grand slam. I mean, it's just to have those three things happen in such a short amount of time. This is the thing we're talking about yesterday's game. We haven't even been on and talked about the Brewers series and how that all ended with Pete Alonso and what he did. So it's like, it just the hits keep on coming. Shout out to my guy, Carlos, in the chat. He didn't want to go to game 5 with Wheeler on the mound, just like we didn't want to see Mike Scott in game 7 in the playoffs against Houston. So yeah, Carlos is an old school Mets fan.
Carlos remembers that Mike Scott.
And Carlos remembers that Mike Scott. So a little bit before my time, I was 2, but there is pictures of me with you and Mom with the Mets hat on. I was all the way in at that age, but I can't say that I recall it. And just, Francisco Lindor, my MVP.
El Capitan.
Put the C on his chest before next season. I mean, come on, let's go.
Does anyone do that in baseball?
Yes, David Wright.
I was talking with your mom about that last night. I don't see anyone with a C on their chest.
David Wright wore the C. He was the captain.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if he actually wore a
I don't know if he
C
wore the
on
C,
his
Nick.
chest.
That happens in football. I
He
don't
was
know
definitely
if
the
guys wear
captain.
the C in baseball.
I know that Aaron Judge is the captain over there, but listen,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's what it is, but he is our captain. Okay.
And there's no even dispute as to whether it should be him or Pete. Love Pete, want him to stay big time, but if you have to choose between the two, and you do, I don't think you would even make co-captains at this point. Although I think Lindor is such a good and magnanimous dude, he wouldn't be upset about it.
I don't think
wouldn't say it.
No, he definitely would not be upset about it. But at the same time, I think that the thing about Pete is I love how positive he stays even when the times are bad. And I do love when he does get a certain, when he gets a big hit, he still makes when he's asked about it, he makes it all about the team. I love that about Pete. I really, really love that about Pete. Carlos said that he believes that Keith Hernandez wore a C. And I definitely don't remember back then. But yeah, man, when it comes to who the captain is, I think that that's clear. If you look at it last night, how often does the celebration happen at shortstop? You know what I mean? Like, so at the end of the day, I don't know, man. Like, we got Mendoza, we got Stearns, we got, we got everything from top to bottom right now, and everybody's rolling. It just seems like we're such a team unit. You just never lose faith. I've spent my entire life looking and saying to myself, yo, man, what's going to happen? How's this going to go bad? And yesterday during the ninth, when DS was yesterday, I thought about you during the ninth because I thought to myself, you know how you have a very, very troubled relationship with it when it comes to any sort of reliever. And yesterday, at one point, after he walks his first two batters and they're talking to him on the mound, I was thinking to myself, if this dude right now, if he somehow spits the bit and blows this up, Dad's going to be calling me tomorrow saying, can you help me carry my new TV inside or some shit like that? Because I thought that you might absolutely lose it.
If I'm at that game, I may jump over the rail and just go punch him in the face. I couldn't take it. When they were talking to him, I was so upset. But then when he gets the outs, I was like, my man Sugar. Oh, my God. That guy, whoo, man. He drives me up the wall, man. But, look at it, Nick. He drives you up the wall, but he still did a hell of a lot better than them Philly relievers, right? Hey. They spit the bit. Okay?
Oh, they spit the bit for sure. We owned every single one of them. I don't care who you bring in. The Mets are going to take a pound of flesh. Shout to my guy Knickerbocker Banter, who was at the game last night. Says we got to give Quintana some love. He said that when his soul left his body when that Lindor ball landed. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. If you're in a crowd right there and everybody's pumped up, obviously I've been to some great sporting events. It's just a fantastic feeling. It's a fantastic, fantastic feeling. And obviously you never know when you're going to the game if it's going to turn out that way. But and that's just it. All of those people there take a collective risk of going to a sporting event together. And we've all been to sporting events where we've all taken this collective risk and collective investment in going to the game, and it ends up being a total shit show. And you feel like an ass for having gone to the game, spending the money, the time, and the parking, and the this and the that, and getting all pumped up, and you get kicked in the nads. Oh no, man, no. That event the other night, and that's what it ended up being. It's an event.
Yes.
When Lindor hit that home run, wow, I would have liked to be in the building.
Oh, man, I can't imagine. As I said before, I was in the building for Andy Chavez's catch, and I was, in the building the night before when the Mets won in Game 6 to get to the eventual Game 7 that they lost when Beltran went down looking against Adam Wainwright. And being in that same building on consecutive nights, it was just like walking out. We were dancing. We were still chanting, Jose, 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 Jose. We were still chanting that on the train, I think when it was back in Brooklyn at some point. And then the next night, I remember just walking out, and some dude had a trumpet, and he started playing like some sad, like some sad like funeral type shit. And some dude yelled at him. He said, "Hey pal, lose the fucking trumpet." Hey,
It's
yo,
so New
me and my
York.
man Danny were waiting to get into the cab and go back to Brooklyn. I mean, no, we were waiting to get on the train, and we were waiting, and it was like, and he looked at me,
Oh
he's
my
like, "Yo,
God, that's
man,
great.
you trying to split? You trying to split a dollar cab back to the?" I was like, "Yeah, man, come on, let's go ahead." We got in there. We got the cabbie to agree to let us let off some steam, if you know what I'm saying, and just got ourselves back to Brooklyn. And I think the next day when we walked into work, we still didn't talk to each other for a little bit. But it's nice when you're on the opposite end of that. You know, the crowd last night, man, it just, you could just feel it. You could feel it through the screen. And it was a good moment for Mets fans because, you know, 2015, like my man Knickerbocker Banter is talking about, it was, he said it's better than any crowd in the 2015 World Series, best crowd in Citi Field history. And at the end of the day, like, you look at it and you could see that this crowd just wanted to serenade their heroes who had given them so many moments here recently. And then we finally get them back to Citi Field. And my man Pete hits the 3-run home run.
Dude.
Arguably the biggest home run in Mets history at that point.
So
something that nobody has ever done in Major League history. And then he comes out against the Phillies in his first at bat back in Citi Field and goes oppo topo again. I just like, yo, man, everybody's contributing. We've been just doing everything that we could to give Pete another chance to contribute, to come and be a part of the party. And now he stepped up. He's got 3 home runs in his last 4 games. And you start to feel like this team, they could do anything and they could beat anybody.
And if we got people pitching like Quintana and Manaya, I mean, that's fantastic. Okay. Those guys are big time starting pitchers. Okay. And Peterson in the relief role, listen to me, if Senga can come back and actually pitch 4 or 5 innings now we are cooking with gas.
I think 3 to 4 is about the most you can expect.
That's got to be great.
We'll take it. Everything's gravy right now. And when you talk about the starters, let's talk about them and let's dive into them a little bit and give some of these guys some credit. Because like you said, Manaya, absolute gem. Okay.
Wow.
By the way,
oh
yeah, what a signing! Absolutely, him, Quintana. I mean, there's the Severino. Everybody's turning up roses. Everybody's getting better in a Mets uniform, which feels like it absolutely never happens. But when you look at Manaya specifically. But by the way, on True Mets Talk with my guy CP, the day before the game, I did say that he was going to pitch 8 strong and have his signature New York moment in the game, and that Pete was going to hit a home run on his first at bat. It was only 7, but I digress. At the end of the day, when you look at this team, like I said, there's so many people who are having either career years or have figured something out while on the Mets. And hopefully that's not just some crazy coincidence, but it's something that we're actually going to see moving forward. And specifically, Quintana, I mean, there was a point during the season where I wanted to run this guy out of town. And watching him pitch can be a little bit maddening sometimes because all he does is nibble. But when it comes down to it, you look at his numbers all throughout September. Now here in the playoffs, he's been fantastic. What a luxury to have a guy like that at the back end of your starting rotation in a playoff series. And Severino, he's been solid too. It feels like with the Mets starters, the worst that's going to happen is 6 innings and 3 earned runs.
Right. He Quintana frustrates these other teams, man.
Oh, yeah.
These other lineups are so frustrated with this guy because they're like, why am I not smashing this guy's ball? Some of his balls are so slow. It's that Bugs Bunny shit. And it works, and it drives these guys batty. And I love it. Nick, listen, the other thing I see is this. Like you said, so many guys are playing their best or playing up this year. Listen, man, I think we'll see if it happens again next year, right? And see if this becomes a trend. Because it just seems to me, if that's the case, then you got to give major praise to Stearns. Because what it seems to me like is something with the development, something with the scouting and seeing talent has changed, okay? There's too many guys that we brought in this year that are good and doing well. How many times have we brought in other guys that they shit the bed? And I mean, come on, man. The last administration brought in, do I really need to say his name?
Wait, Max Scherzer?
No, VW.
Oh, Volkswagen. Why are we talking about Vogelback? Seriously, you're not allowed to bring up that name ever again on this podcast. Well, I don't want to talk about him. Those days are over. Okay. Now our
I'm
bench
just
players
saying,
are guys like
we have a
Tyrod
better
Taylor
judge.
and Winker, and guys who can actually make some sort of contribution to the team and could possibly do something besides hit a ball that should be a double that ends up in a single, or if he does try, he's downshifting halfway between first and second, and the guy's waiting for him with the ball. Like, come on, fatty.
That was one of the funniest.
Okay, all right. And now now you got me going. We don't talk about him. We're not talking about him anymore.
No more Vogel.
Those times are behind us. The times of the Mickey Callaways of the world. Those times are behind us, man.
What did Mickey Callaway do? Wasn't he sending like texts to somebody doing like Brett Favre shit?
Yeah. He was sending some inappropriate shit. And honestly, as soon as that came out with him, just from watching him in press conferences and seeing just the way that he carries himself, I was like, oh, he absolutely did that shit.
He's a little smarmy.
No doubt with Mickey. Okay. All right. That's enough about that. Let's move forward and let's talk about my man, David motherfucking Peterson, man. Fantastic. Peterson is the ace in the hole. What a weapon this guy is to be able to bring him in. And no matter what the situation, it seems like if it's closing out a series, if it's getting 2 or 3 innings here, hey, yesterday I was like, wow, we bringing in Sugar. Leave this cat in. Leave him in.
I really wanted him to stay in the game, Nick. I was very upset that they brought Sugar in, and I still believe they shouldn't have brought Sugar in. The thing with Sugar is, I seriously feel this way, man. He needs another 10 warm-up pitches.
Yo, it really does feel that way, Dad.
I mean,
it really does.
Because, Nick, once he got it together, that fastball was live, man. It was ring and just curving off at the end. Nobody could hit that shit. Okay? Schwarber couldn't get close.
Get close.
But, Nick, the first 8 pitches or so, the guy's going everywhere. There's no rhyme or reason. So I don't know how you work that out. But, they got to figure it out something or put a rubber band on his finger or his wrist or something. I don't know.
Yo, it really, seriously, for a guy that has his amount of talent and has gotten to his level of pitching, you would think that he would always be able to, throw a strike at least 1 out of every 3 pitches. And for him to come in, he threw 8 of his first 9 pitches were balls. And guess what? The other one,
close.
The other one that they called a strike was a ball too.
It was a ball. It was a ball, man.
It was a ball. And the thing is that, your stuff is so live. If you just throw it over the plate, these guys cannot mess with you. I did like that he wasn't throwing sliders. He was bringing straight heat. And did you see the reports about the conversation between him and Lindor during the mound visit?
No.
During the mound visit, you can read his lips. He's saying Hefner's talking to him, and he's like, and Sugar's just saying, let's go. All right, let's go. And Lindor taps him and he says, listen, don't just say, let's go. Go out there and execute and make it happen. You know what I mean? Again, you just have Lindor just being an absolute, like you said, captain. And then he comes up for that at bat. And at that point, the Mets have squandered just every single opportunity. You start to think about it, and you get to a point where you're like, how many times are we going to have the bases loaded with 2 outs or less and not do anything? You got Iglesias, who's been fantastic, still has one of the better gloves I've ever seen as an infielder, being way too jumpy and just, his fielding, that is insane. His fielding is insane.
He's just like flipping the ball.
Bad hop, don't matter. He handles everything. Him and Lindor up the middle, we handle everything. Okay.
Amazing.
And but even he owned this guy, Ranger Suarez, owned him. And even he, in the big spot, can't get it done. And, we get the bases loaded multiple times. We have other times where we have, first and third and 1 out, and we're not able to score. And you're like, how many times are we going to let these guys get away with it? Then they end up scoring in like the cheapest way possible, a bunch of soft contact. Vientos can't make the play, though. He was not going to throw him out at home. He needed to go ahead and throw it to first base. Vientos, he seems like he mixes in a mistake here and there, but then he also has at least like 2 or 3 sparkling plays throughout the game where, his arm is so strong. He's throwing the ball from foul ground and just firing it over there. And man, we're not even talking about what he's doing at the plate. A star is being born at the plate when it comes to Vientos.
He really is. I mean, he will. I see nothing crazy about saying he'll have over 30 home runs next year. I mean, the guy's fit. He's young.
Light work. He had 29 this year. And
27.
He had 29 for this. He had 27 for the season?
Yes.
Okay.
And because I remember it matches his jersey number. And he had
27. That was your number in college too, right?
Exactly. He had 27, and he played in 111 games. So just figure out the math. It's really easy to see him hitting 30 or more.
Yeah, I'm talking about
30 is
40.
conservative, right?
And
If
he's
you're
at
just
that
talking
age where
percentages.
he's at that age where he's just going to get stronger.
Getting stronger, getting better at the plate. I'm really, really excited about that guy's future and our future with him. And, this is the thing, Nick. If we win it all this year, let's say we actually get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you can get there and get us even as far as we are right now with a team that no one expected this, and we feel like we've got this better situation going on with our organization and our recruiting, our scouting and everything. I just feel really good going forward, man. And who knows what we're going to do now in a draft? What kind of talent are we going to get there that's going to be with us 5 years from now, 4 years from now? And that's how the great teams, man, how you see teams like, frankly, Atlanta. They stay consistent, man, over so many years because their organization is fantastic. And also, they're not up and down, up and down, up and down with fire this guy, bring this guy in, fire this guy. They're more consistent. And I think when it works, you stick with it. Oh, I like that. Hey, George.
Yeah, shout to George in the chat. He's he's a avid watcher of the show. His father did this to him as well. So he understands my plight. And yeah, man, when you take a step back and you look at the future and you look at what this team is primed to do, but at the same time, though, I hesitate on that because that's how I felt in 2015. You had all these young arms. You really felt like, this team, right, man, we could really do something. We could be something for years to come.
The management wasn't as good.
The management wasn't as good. That's what gives you
the owner wasn't as good.
The owner wasn't as good. Exactly. And we didn't have an unquestioned leader, both on and off the field. We got a similar thing going with our Knicks and with our Mets right now, with Brunson and Lindor. These guys are the kings of New York right now. And the organization behind them,
well run.
Exactly. And, hey, I don't know if anybody would praise Dolan too much, but as we always say, he has stayed out and he has let Leon do his thing, and he's always willing to sign the check. So that's okay for me.
That's all I want from my owner. I don't care if you got a little band and you're playing a little club, some guitar. It doesn't matter. Just spend the money and shut the hell up and let the basketball minds do what they do. But honestly, and I did want to say something to George that will blow his mind as all you "he did this to me" types. What's interesting about that, Nick, is that, as you know, I was born in Jamaica, and my father, obviously, is a Jamaican man. He didn't introduce me to these teams. My dad took me and my brother to a game, and he had never been to a game himself, but it just happened to be a Met game against the Pirates. And then I was the one who chose the Mets, the Jets, and the Knicks. We got my dad into watching Knicks basketball, which, as you know, was his favorite thing before he passed. But so I guess I did this to me.
Yeah. No, you did this to yourself.
I did this to myself. I did it to you. I kind of did it to your sister. Well, no, your sister roots for whoever she wants. But.
Yeah, no. I'll give her, she's a Knicks fan. Okay.
She's a Knicks fan.
She's a Knicks fan. But yeah, now it's, it's gone to a third generation because my kids are so into it. And that's been one of the coolest things about this is that they have been on fall break. So I've been able to sit and watch a lot of these moments with them. Like they're going to be able to talk about for the rest of their lives. Remember when Lindor hit that home run against the Braves? And, remember when Lindor hit that grand slam to beat the Phillies? Yo, my guy Lindor, beat the Phillies. Man. I hate the Phillies. I hate that whole city and that whole fan base to beat the Phillies.
Look on their faces in the dugout.
Dad, I've never reveled in someone's like pain. I've watched in the last 24 hours. I watched all of their post-game press conferences. I watched their local like Philly TV, like with their version of SNY. Their post-game show it was just amazing. I've watched multiple streams of like videos of like guys who were like talking about before the series how now we show this poverty franchise what it's like when you play a real team, and we just absolutely.
I think I saw that.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Poverty. Why do they keep using the word poverty?
Well, I think the Wilpons were, I think those were poverty
they're calling
times.
us a poverty franchise.
Poverty franchise.
Poverty franchise. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, all right. I don't care.
I just, especially going back to 2007, and especially being somebody who lived equidistant between New York City and Philadelphia. So I got, a good mix of all those different people. And I don't like them. I don't like the city. And then when you look at the whole Sixers versus the Knicks and all that, the one thing that you can't spell Philly without is back-to-back L's. So take that, you fucking Philly fans down there. Fucking take a choke on a cheesesteak and unpack your lockers, and we'll see you next year. We'll give the Phillies players and their management and all that credit. They did give the Mets their credit. You know what I mean? Like they lost with class overall. And hey, it's a new day. It's a new day. We got a new owner. We got a new GM, president, whatever you want to call Stearns, and Carlos Mendoza. That guy's post-game speech yesterday had me ready to run through a fucking wall. Oh, I can't say enough about this guy. You gotta love him. You absolutely have to love how he gets these guys to play for him, how he has trust in his guys. There's times where I think he has too much trust. There's a few times here recently, especially when it comes to the pitching, where I haven't totally agreed with how he managed this or that, but you got to look at the sum. And when you look at the sum, what it adds up to is a magical season for the Mets, and we ain't done yet.
We're not done yet. I mean, this team just makes you, fills you with joy, and now of course we're greedy. We want it all, of course.
Oh yeah.
So let's get into who do you see next? I mean, it's going to be San Diego or Dodgers. Guys were asking me today, who would I prefer? And that's a tough question. It really is, because with San Diego, listen, man, them guys, Machado and Tatis, they're getting into their thing.
Tatis is the hottest hitter on the planet right now.
Exactly, they're on fire. Okay, so you got to worry about them. But then on the Dodgers, Ohtani, Betts, those guys are always dangerous. Okay, so, and Yamamoto, is he pitching really well? He's okay.
No. He's the most overpaid pitcher in baseball. Brutal. He's starting tonight. And when you
think about how much we wanted that guy.
Yeah, we wanted him so badly. I mean, it just goes to show you, man, especially in baseball from season to season, you never know what you're going to get. And especially if you're going to get some guy from another country, you really don't know what you're going to get. And so as far as next round and who do you want to see? I would rather see the Dodgers, just because I think that we get to their pitching. Their pitching I think is mediocre. I think we get to their pitching, but the thing is, I don't care. I don't care who we see. Whoever we see, we are going to have just as good starting pitching, just as good bullpen, and we're going to have a deeper lineup than them. We have the deepest lineup in the major leagues right now. That's the difference in this series, is the bullpens and the production from the back end of the lineup. Lindor cannot hit a home run, a grand slam, as the leadoff hitter if the guys at the end of the lineup don't set the table for him. And, you have a guy like a Starling Marte who just continues to contribute. You have, like we talked about before, Iglesias. He's had some, big moments here, even though he hasn't been ripping the cover off the ball like he was through a lot of the regular season. I expect him to get hot in this next round. Everybody's contributing. Even a guy like, JD finally found it, and now all of a sudden he's getting base knocks. Winker comes in, he's hitting triples. He's hitting absolute bombs to the upper deck. Alvarez had a couple good picks yesterday, and he's the guy who can never pick it off. Everybody is stepping up, and everybody is playing their absolute best when it matters the most. And we're just playing good situational baseball. Very few gaffes. We haven't, like I said, this hasn't been lucky, though. That hit by Bohm yesterday, that was a fair ball. We got the call in our favor.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was saying, listen, man, if that happened against the Mets, I would have been screaming. That was absolutely a fair ball. I don't know what that ump was looking at. That was a fair ball. I don't know
either. It was right
100 out of 100 times.
And I don't understand how you can't review that call. What are we talking about? Dude, why wouldn't we review that call?
I would have been fuming if that happened against the Mets. But this is the reason, kids, why I try to tell you it's not fixed. Okay, it's human error, and it goes both ways. Get over it. We got to go through it.
I'm 100. I hear you. I'm 100% ready for robot umps when it comes to home plate. Because some of these umps, man,
I
they're
hear
so
you.
wildly inconsistent, and that's
I
something
know.
that seems like it would be easy to do with today's technology. I'm completely for the umps to the home plate. Okay, I guess at the bases and stuff like that, there's other things at play, but strike zone, home plate, there has to be a way to be like, okay, this is the middle of this guy's chest, and this is his knees, and this is each side of the plate, and we know whether or not it was a strike or not. I just don't see how that doesn't happen sooner or later, because the home plate umpiring can be so wildly inconsistent in some of these games. But you know what? I will say these last two games, I said to both of my kids at one point that I thought that the ump was doing a pretty good job behind the plate. So, overall, they're going to be pretty good. And I will say this, it's a little bit weird. I'm kind of rooting for the Yankees. I want the Yankees to move forward. I want to see them.
What, to get a Subway Series?
I want the Subway Series. Listen, if the Subway Series happens, we got to go ahead and get me a crystal ball or something, because I was calling for a Subway Series back in, I think, like July, when the Mets started to get hot. But I don't want to see the Yankees just go away quietly. The Subway Series is a dream, but I just feel like right now this whole New York sports world. I mean, last night there's a New York sweep. The Wednesday sweep. You had the Rangers won, the Mets won, the Yankees won, the Knicks won. Everybody won.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And the Yankees, I don't really care if they win or lose. I mean,
I don't hate on the Yankees, and I just think that it would be cool if we got.
It would be kind of something special if they lost to the Royals.
That
would infuriate Yankee fans.
It would infuriate Yankee fans.
That I would enjoy, just hearing the bile and anger. I mean, listen, if they lose tonight, I'll surely be listening tomorrow to sports radio as I'm working, because the Yankee fans who are on the radio are going to be fuming. They're ready to flip on these guys at any moment.
Oh, okay? 100%.
The Aaron Judge thing, listen, man.
What's going on with this guy?
Well, I mean, he's having a bad time of it, Nick, but there's been people who've had a bad time of it in the playoffs, in the postseason before. One of the greatest hitters of all time, Barry Bonds, was just as bad his first two times in the playoffs.
Sure.
It's going to turn around for him. He's too good for it not to. And if you're a Yankee fan, calm down and back up. He's your guy. He's the captain. I don't want to hear the bullshit next season when Lindor goes through a slump, okay? Get over that shit. He's the guy. That's what I think,
You got to ride it out with your best players, and you got to continue to just hope that they can give you a chance to, root for them. That's how it was with Pete. I know a lot of people gave up on Pete. I give my guy CP a hard time because he was talking about move Pete down to 7th just before that final game in Milwaukee, and Mendoza does the opposite. Exactly. And Mendoza, remember, he had him hitting 5th. He actually put him back in the cleanup spot where he should be, and he stepped up. Shout out to Brandon Nimmo as well. Continues to be the consummate professional. Nimmo, I put up a meme last night that said, "Nimmo, you're not crying. I'm not crying. You're crying," because him crying after the game, obviously some emotional stuff. Mania lost an aunt right before his. Well, we got angels in the outfield. This is our year, man. I really feel like something special is happening. I'm not scared to play anybody, and we will see as we move forward what we can do. It'll all start Sunday night, 8:15 Eastern, against either the Padres or the Dodgers. I don't care who it is. Bring them on. Let's go, Mets.
When are you back from San Diego?
So this is the thing, is that if it was an earlier game, so I'm going to San Diego this weekend for the audience with the family. It's only about 4 hours and change away from where we are in Arizona. And I was like, yo, if they're playing, I'm in there if it's going to be in San Diego on Sunday. The game doesn't start until 5:15. It's 8:15 Eastern. So if I go to the game 3 hours, then have to drive back, that'll be tough. But the kids have no school the next day. And I'm the one that's going to have to do all the driving. If San Diego wins, I'm going to check on tickets. All right. And if it's
you're not even considering it if it's LA.
No, just because now you got to take
the whole family up to
not
LA.
With the whole family. Nah, if it was solo,
if it's in San Diego, you would go solo to the game.
No,
or you take the kids and
I would try to take everybody, get the whole experience.
You're paying
We'll
up
have
for
to
a
pay for
ticket for
Noel.
Noel.
Ticket
Oh my
for
gosh.
ticket for my youngest who's 4 years old would be that's a heart piece right there. But
You give her ice cream, she's happy.
yeah, oh no, she would be happy. She'd be fine. But I mean,
Yeah.
would she remember it ever? She's 4.
Oh
She's
no,
almost 5. That's about the time where my
she's
core
not staying
memories
awake
are
the whole game.
activated. 4 or 5 years old.
She's asleep before the end of the game.
No, it's gonna be too. Hopefully, it'd be too loud in there. Well, hopefully, it'd be really quiet in there.
Yeah, right.
Except for me and a few
something.
other
And
crazy
listen,
Mets
Nick,
fans.
you got to look at you have to look at what the look and see what it is online as soon as the game is announced. As soon as it might not be that expensive.
I think there's a good chance it won't be that expensive. I really have no idea. I have no gauge on it. I feel like it would be more expensive if it was a Dodgers game, but I don't think it'll be that expensive. Whatever, we'll see. I'll see if I can get in there. If I can, I'll throw up a live from the game right here on the channel. And Mets, hey man, what did we say all year? We said that we were hoping to see meaningful games in September and hopefully get into October. Now we find ourselves sitting around waiting for the NLCS. I love that we get a little bit of a break, but not too long. And then we get to get right back out there and keep the momentum going. Grimace, the rally pimp, Haktua, we'll take whatever we can get, whoever's on our side, whoever is ready. This Haktua girl, she's posted on Twitter all the time, she put her face on Mrs. Met. She's posted about the Mets like every day. Hey, so she's like, she's all the way in now. Yeah, so she's all the way in now. We've adopted her.
Yeah, no doubt. And hey, I will tell you this: when me and your mom went to the game in Anaheim, because we went to the box office, and I know this guy did this. He showed me seats, and he says, "You can have these seats." It somehow turned out that the section we were in was all Met fans. So I know he did that on purpose.
Sure,
he put us in which was great.
Sure, that makes sense.
You don't get that if you buy online.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. And then, I don't know. I think a playoff game, just walking up to the box office, that's
too risky.
And they've been good for a few years. I'm sure that their fan base is coming out. I'm just going to have to listen. I'm going to go on there in a humble, and if the number is right, I'm going to make it happen. But we shall see. Anything else about the Mets you want to add?
No, just let's go Mets. Love you, El Capitan. Let's go.
Absolutely. And from the peaks now to the pits. The New York Jets let go of Robert Saleh on Tuesday. Around 10 a.m. Eastern, you get the tweets and the alerts firing into the phone. You texted me. I think I was in a meeting at the time, so I think your text was the first thing that I saw that said that we had gotten rid of Saleh. Yeah, you're
Goodrich.
Yeah, there you go, Scoop Goodrich. But Saleh, man, he's out. We were both very excited when he came over. We both had our misgivings once he became the coach, and we saw some of the different gaffes. I think that you kept the faith a little bit longer than I did, and now we see that Jeff Ulbrich will be the coach for the rest of the season. And then today we got more news that Nathaniel Hackett, my least favorite Jets coach other than Adam Gase of all time, has now been demoted, and plays will be called by Todd Downing, former offensive coordinator for the Titans. And big shakeup. We got a lot to unpack here. Was it the right time? Did Rodgers have anything to do with it? Talk to me about what you felt when you first saw the news and how you're feeling about Roger Saleh being out now.
I like Saleh. But listen, his record wasn't great, so he's at risk, right?
Yep.
I felt like it was a stupid time to fire the coach. Okay, I don't think it was a smart move for the organization. There have been 2 times in the history where coaches have been fired mid-season and the team has made the playoffs. Every other time they haven't. But that said, you know what? If the Jets win Monday night, everybody's going to say, oh, the Jets won and they beat Buffalo, and it's because, Robert Saleh got fired. I don't think that'll have much to do with it. I don't know if Todd Downing is going to be a great play caller. I hope he is. I think that I don't get it, because I've heard a lot of different theories as to why they fired Saleh. Why Woody fired Saleh. And I personally think, more than anything, this is a knee-jerk reaction from Woody, an impetuous thing from Woody. And I heard him say something that I thought was telling. He said, I've had 2 years to think about this. He's never been really a solid guy.
He didn't
And
hire him.
he didn't hire him. Chris hired him. Okay.
Sure.
So I think that's a big part of it. He's not a solid guy. And if that's not the guy you hired, you don't ride with him quite as long. I get that.
Fair.
But I don't think, I just don't, I don't get it, because some people say, oh, well, he got fired because he let it be known that he wanted to demote or fire Hackett, and Rodgers, said, no, get him out, basically.
Craig Carton, but he has come out on the record saying that he knows this to be true. He's a guy who's typically fairly plugged in, with the behind the scenes of the Jets, and he says very specifically that Woody talked to Rodgers on Monday, and that Rodgers said, hey, I don't think that Saleh's the guy, and then within like 10 minutes, or even Tuesday morning, I heard, and they said like very soon after the decision was made to fire Robert Saleh. There's obviously been some people that have come out and said that that's bullshit, including Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth on whether or not I think that's true.
But this is what I don't get, okay? So if Aaron Rodgers, in effect, got this guy fired because he wanted to get rid of your man Saleh, or no, get rid of Hackett.
Right.
Now he's out. So why did they let Ulbrich do exactly that? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I've actually had some people say to me, oh, well, they did that because they knew Rodgers was getting blowback, so now they demoted him. But come on. This is going too deep down the rabbit hole now. Calm down.
Yeah.
I just don't, and Nick, I also have a hard time seeing why. Why would, if you're Rodgers and you don't like Saleh, okay, you don't think he's the guy, why every time you get brought up about him, the time with the chest thing and all that, he says, look, Robert and I have a great relationship. I love Rob.
But what else is he going to say?
Blah, blah. He could say, I have a good relationship with the coach. He doesn't have to gush like he does, Nick. He doesn't have to do that. In his interview yesterday with McAfee, he could have said to McAfee, don't ask me that. Or, I'm not coming on this week because of that. Or, don't press me and I'm going to give some bullshit answer.
I don't think he can say that to him just because everybody's anticipating it so much. If he doesn't get asked that, or if he just totally skips out on the show this week, I think that leads even more into the narrative.
That looks worse. But now but I think he attacked it in a certain way that seemed to me to be genuine. That look, he considers it offensive, blah blah blah, and everything he said. I just don't think I would be surprised. I mean, if he's that full-throated in his denial of that, and he is lying. I mean, the guy's like an evil genius. He's like a Machiavellian.
Immunized. Which
right.
We won't even get into how we feel about how we feel about that, and whether or not he should have to talk about his medical history to the press or whatever. Right. But without even getting into that, I mean, he sold that pretty well. Listen, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me because I wanted Saleh to be out at this point. And I didn't necessarily want or think that it would happen, though I did say to you a couple weeks ago, I think that there's a chance that if things go really bad, he could be bounced before the end of the season, which is something that Woody has never done. And you, like many other people, figured he would never do. I think that when you look at it and you say, hey, this is the most talented team that we've had in a long time. And some people would say, let's wait till after the Buffalo game. Some people would say, you can't wait until after the Buffalo game. You have to do this right now. And I think what it really came down to more than anything else was the Quincy Williams comments, the Robert Saleh talking about the cadence, and, Aaron Rodgers saying, well, maybe we hold these guys accountable. When you start to get the reputation in the locker room and amongst the players that you're not holding certain people accountable, whether that be Hackett, whether that be the offensive line, whether that be Rodgers, whoever, I think that that's when it's real easy to lose the locker room. I don't think Woody did this without talking to some players and feeling like, these guys are ready for a change. Okay. And I also think that there's
I
a
don't
chance
think
that
that's
Rodgers could be sitting in front of us and saying one thing and behind closed doors saying something totally different. I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility.
definitely that's
And
within the realm.
and when you get back and you go back to the Egypt trip and then you go back to the cadence thing, those are both things that I don't think that Robert Saleh handled very well. I don't think he handled the media very well in general. I think
Okay.
Ulbrich in just a couple days when I've seen him be the guy who's up front, I like the way he just conveys his message to the media and then hopefully to his players even a little bit more than Saleh. Just I don't know. I like the cut of Ulbrich's jib. I think he's a guy who could easily be a head coach in this league this year, and if not so this year, definitely next year. And maybe we have our guy and he's waiting in the wings, and that's another part of it. It's like, hey, I don't think that Saleh is the guy moving forward. I need to go ahead and give this guy his audition right now because I don't want him to get out of the building and go be great somewhere else. All those things could be factors. And I think when it comes down to it more than anything else, Saleh had an undisciplined team that consistently had slow starts, that consistently seemed like they weren't ready to play and were getting out schemed and out strategized. And when that happens, you're on the block.
Right.
20 and
No,
36 is 20 and 36.
right. No, and all of that's true. No, all of what you said at the end there about Saleh is true. I don't think that Woody went and talked to guys and whatnot. Quite a few guys on the team, like Sauce said, we're still playing for Coach Saleh.
I know he said that.
I think these guys, I think a lot of, and Garrett said basically the same thing on offense. I think a lot of these guys love him. Could he have been harder on them? Clearly. Okay, that's obvious. I think more than anything, Nick, I think the offense just has to be better. And I think, and I told you this from last year, I think the offensive line coach is terrible. Okay, whatever he's doing, he's not doing a really great job of it. I think our tight end blocking on the
It's
ends
a joke. I saw a
is
compilation
joke.
the other day of the tight ends just absolutely whiffing on people over and over and over again.
So what you have then is you have people who, okay, and I blame all of the offense for this. The offensive players, I blame Hackett, I blame Rodgers, but definitely the offensive line coach as well. They're constantly saying, I think we look good. I think we're this. I think we're that. You're wrong. We're not.
We're not.
Okay.
We're not.
And listen, man, your tight ends can't block. Why don't you know this? Have you not seen them challenged properly in practice? Clearly not, because otherwise you'd be saying they can't block. Okay. Fashanu has not shined like in this last game. Okay. Have we really put that guy up against a test?
Simpson,
I don't think so.
Simpson ain't look good either.
Simpson has not looked good.
Moses is coming back this week.
Okay. And Tippmann, I've seen him mess up a couple times too.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, Nick, the unit does not seem strong. Okay. And that's where it all begins.
No, they're not being coached up well. There is too much tape out there that I have seen of two guys going to block one guy and letting another guy run straight through. I mean, Brees hasn't done a great job in pass.
We saw the confusion last year too, Nick, with the offensive line.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I preach this your entire life. It all starts right there. If that doesn't work, if your running back is getting hit 2 yards in the backfield, it doesn't matter who he is. He can be Gale Sayers. Okay. If what I'm seeing a lot of times is it feels like when Tippmann snaps the ball, these defensive tackles are coming across the face of our offensive linemen. They're coming up out of their stance before our offensive linemen can do that. And we have the advantage of knowing the snap count. What is going on?
Yeah, it's not good, man. It's not good, and we don't execute, and we don't seem sharp and on point. Shout to my guy CP in the chat. He's in the chat right now, and he's even suffering through some Jets talk. I know he's a Giants fan. CP, just give us a couple more minutes. We're gonna get into some Knicks here in a minute. But yeah, man, the coaching and the execution and the preparedness is something that just became more and more glaring over time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, that offensive line looks like they haven't done any type of just the cohesion and the attention to detail and hey, this is exactly what we're supposed to do. It just doesn't seem like we're able to execute that. And other teams are able to execute it on us. So that's the thing that makes it so glaring and makes you feel like, hey, there has to be a change. You know that I am not a fan of Hackett, and now we get him out, and then we have this guy Todd Downing. So I have a buddy at work who is a huge Titans fan. My guy Taylor. I walked over to him and I said, "How should I feel about Todd Downing?" And he said he is the worst offensive coordinators the Titans have ever had. And he is the worst play caller that I have ever seen. He said the Titans have had some terrible OCs, and he's the worst. And not only that, the Titans had some crazy streak where they hadn't scored more than 20 points in some wild amount of games. And the first time that they went ahead and they scored over 20, they didn't quite get to 30. They scored over 20. Yeah, Todd Downing got a DUI that night, and the dash cam footage was wild. He's calling the GM and being like, "I messed up." So yeah. I don't know about this guy, Todd Downing, man. We'll see what happens. But this is the guy. But I mean, well, listen, who else? You can't elevate, the backup tight, the tight ends coach to being the play caller. So I don't know. I don't know if he's the guy, but the one thing that I do like that I heard from Ulbrich when they asked him about whether or not he would be more involved with the offense is he says that the one thing I will talk to them is talking to them about how we play and playing with a certain identity. And that's the thing that I think that he can immediately say. He needs to look at this guy Downing and say, "Hey, we're not going to throw the ball more than 30 times. And on the 50 plays that we run, we're going to have motion on 60% of them." And that's
Nick,
that.
Okay, Nick, but yeah, it's easy to say that, Nick. But if they haven't practiced that, because that's not what Aaron Rodgers does, you can't just do that now.
Listen, they're NFL players.
That's not what you're
NFL players. If you can't put in this week some that we're going to run some more motion, I think that's something I don't think that's something that's so difficult to put in. We definitely have Nick, plays with motion, with pre-snap motion in our playbook. We just don't run them.
Right. Okay. But Aaron Rodgers, clearly that's not his thing.
Get over it, Aaron. You're not the coach.
Get over it. Okay. And we haven't been very efficient at running plays without motion.
Yes.
And everybody not having false starts and all that. So let's now add some motion in, and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, but without creativity, though, we need creativity.
I get it, Nick. You can be creative, but I don't know if you're going to adding motion is the way to go when this isn't who you are. I think having motion is great. I would love it if we did more motion. I just don't know if you can just snap your fingers and say, "Okay, let's run all those motion plays." They haven't run them for a reason, because that's not what he likes to do. So clearly they don't do that a lot. I don't think they practice it very much. Okay? Nick, I think if they decide to do stuff like that, you're going to see mistakes. And listen, this is the other thing, Nick, okay? Well, let's watch this on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers, Hackett is his guy. So when things were messing up, Aaron Rodgers was pissed. I'm sure he was, being a little reflective, but he was also probably not being as outwardly pissed because Hackett is his guy. Is he going to be the same guy if the play calling he feels sucks and are stupid and this guy's sending in bullshit? How's he going to react? I don't know, Nick. I think it's going to be interesting. Nick, a lot of people had shit to say about Saleh, all this. He's maybe too much of a player's coach. 100% right. The one thing the team did not necessarily do under him is splinter and start pointing fingers. I hope Ulbrich can do the same, because that's the worst part about all of this if this happens. And if we lose a few more games, Nick, I very much expect that to happen. I bet, because the players in the locker room now, there's not as much cohesion. They kind of coalesced around Saleh because he was their guy, and they might do the same with Ulbrich. Definitely the offense, definitely the defense. But because the owner did this when he did, I think you're making it much easier for your team to splinter. Now, if they win, maybe we come together, us against the world. But if we lose, and Saleh didn't let that happen under his watch, we'll see if it can happen now. And I don't think it'll be Ulbrich's fault. One other point I want to make about Saleh. You know who was a shitty coach his first couple of years he was coaching, as we've spoken about before? Belichick in Cleveland. He got run out of Cleveland because he sucked. He did not have a good quarterback. I don't care if you're Lombardi. If you don't have a good quarterback or good quarterback play, you're out. And listen, if Rodgers plays a better game last weekend, and throws 1 interception maybe instead of 3. Let's be honest. I love Rodgers, but he played like shit last week.
He played bad. Yeah.
Those interceptions were his fault. If he has 1 interception instead of 3 and we win that game easily, this guy's not getting fired. Okay.
Without the pick 6, if Sauce catches that ball that just like lofts right into his hands in the end zone,
he's not getting fired.
He doesn't get fired.
It was a knee-jerk reaction. I think the owner, he did some Jerry Jones in reverse shit right here. And I think the owner may have made a huge mistake here. And then, Nick, what happens now? If we end up losing out the season, what would have happened anyway if Saleh was here? They would have gotten rid of Saleh and probably rid of Joe Douglas. And as we know, Nick, I mean, listen, we can get upset with Joe Douglas. I think he's made some good picks, but then again, he flubbed, obviously, the biggest pick, the
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson and Mekhi Becton, right? Let's say,
right.
Okay? He could have had Tristan Wirfs instead of Mekhi Becton. That's huge. That's bad. But, again, Nick, if we're changing coaches and GMs every 3 or 4 years, we're never going to succeed.
But you can't stick with the guy if he's not the guy either. And like I said, I think a big part of this is wanting to get a look at Brick. Let's get a look at Ulbrich and get an audition for him before we let this guy walk out the door.
If we don't make the playoffs, is there any chance he's going to keep Brick? No, right?
No, I don't. I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I really think.
Is there any chance he'll keep Douglas?
I really think it depends on how the rest of this season goes. And it's not just about, wins and losses and whether or not we make the playoffs. I think a lot of it has to do with, hey, just how do we look? Do we continue to be the worst penalized team? Do we continue to be a team that looks like we are not prepared and we don't start games quickly? I think if all of those things happen, then yeah, he's out. I think really quickly, there's a couple things that Ulbrich can do as far as taking these guys to tasks and holding them accountable and just the whole situation being what it is, making everybody, be on top of their P's and Q's a little bit. And then we could look so much better. And that might not even be because of anything Ulbrich did. I just think that where we're at as a team and the embarrassment that we've just had, and now the fact that we actually just lost our coach, guys are going to have a little bit more attention to detail. Yeah. And now, and this guy Ulbrich is a guy who, these defensive players, they really love playing for him. So I think he's a guy who's really going to be able to galvanize the locker room. And then also former player. I think that carries a lot of weight with these guys. Former player, he's even more jacked than Saleh maybe, and he's got a chance to really jump on the scene and be like our version of Vrabel. And I'm hoping that he can. Who knows what we'll see. Shout out to my guy CP in the chat. He says, "What's up with Reddick stuff? CAA dropped him. You saw that he's now been dropped. CAA dropped Reddick today.
So his agent." It's like, okay, look, I can't deal with you anymore. You're
Yo, we about making money over here. The agency is about making money. You throwing away all this money, dog. I can't. What am I representing you for?
What are you doing?
If you're just losing money for no reason because you have to still come and play for a certain amount of time, or next year you're in the exact same space. You have Woody making weird pleas with him in his.
I didn't like that at all.
Drive on down 95. I mean, where is this guy? He's up in Boston somewhere or something like that.
Philly or something.
But then that would be up 95, not down to 95. And also he called him Hashan.
Oh, Jesus.
He called him Hashan 2 different times. He didn't even say his name correctly. Come on, Ambassador Johnson.
Right.
What's up with them having him call him Ambassador Johnson?
I was about to say that. I heard that he wants people to call him Ambassador.
It was the Jets PR people who called him that. So that clearly comes from him, in my opinion. And that's insane.
I get it where some people, when you're like a governor and you're no longer governor, people still call you governor as a term of respect.
Yeah, or Mr. President.
Mr. President. But
even when you're not the president anymore. But
come on.
Ambassador Johnson,
that's almost like Nick, like calling somebody apostle.
Oh, I thought you were apostle. I thought you were going to say maestro.
Remember that fool?
Yeah, I do.
It's a maestro type situation. Absolutely.
It's a maestro situation.
You know what I just thought of though? It's ridiculous. I'll be like, dude, what's your name? Woody? I'm not calling you ambassador. Woody. Woodrow. But where's Joe Douglas in all of this? Haven't heard from Joe Douglas at all.
Yeah. Do we need to hear from him right now, though? Well, I mean, yeah, I guess
when you fire
your coach,
got bounced.
But and Woody, I feel like Woody was going out of his way to say specifically that it was his decision. I almost felt like he was trying really hard to iterate the fact that it was his decision and his decision alone, which I found that a little bit odd
He
too.
absolutely said that. He said exactly that. And I think he needed to say that because I think it was his decision. I think it was rash. I refuse to believe that Joe Douglas was like, yeah, makes sense. I don't think that. I don't think that Joe Douglas wanted to fire him. Or else why didn't Joe Douglas fire him?
I agree. Well, listen, I think that when it comes to
That would have been perfect
the
cover for
hiring and
Woody.
firing of the coach, it ultimately does come down to the owner, though I do think that
Yeah, but
you
the owner
have,
tells the GM, get him out.
yeah, listen, I think when it comes down to the coach, that's typically the owner, and I think I think it's the owner who typically handles that. I think that's the case mostly around the league. Monday's going to be interesting. We got a chance to be number one in the division. We come out and we look fantastic against the Bills, and everybody's going to be talking about how we got rid of Saleh and Ulbrich is the guy, and how he was weighing us down. He was an anchor around our neck, and I don't really know if that's going to be true, but I hope that these guys come out and continue to give me something to root for as we get into these cold months, and we're right there. We're there, what man. A difference a couple weeks makes from how we felt after that Patriots game to how we feel now, and what a difference another couple weeks could make.
And those games were totally winnable. Winnable, Nick.
Absolutely.
I mean, except for bullshit and stupidity, we should have won those games. So hopefully we get the flip side to that and we win some improbable games. And then, hopefully we can do this on Monday, man. It's going to be tough against Buffalo because Buffalo is going to bring the house every single play.
Yeah, only 2.5 point favorites of the Bills, just like the I think that was the same line last week in London against the Vikings. So hey, Vegas thinks we got a shot. They're they're 2.5 point favorites. We're at home, so really make that 3.5 points because you get 3 for making home, and or make it 5.5 points rather, 5.5 points. My math is bad, but damn, give me a second to correct myself. Just give me a second. Okay. Did you watch the Knicks preseason game?
I watched
against the Wizards.
Yeah, I watched most of it. Listen, man.
What'd you think?
Like I was texting you, the couple things. The pick and roll with Jalen Brunson and Cat is just going to be outrageous. I have a hard time. It's going to be deadly, Nick, because this guy can hit the shot. He can go to the hoop. It's clearly better than pick and roll with him and Randall. Okay. So I liked what I saw from Cat. Had to love what you saw from Cat. I even saw a block shot from Cat at the rim, which was fantastic. So I liked it. Mm-hmm. JB looks to be in good form, all that. I even at one point was like, get everybody out of the game. Come on. Come on, James. You're getting carried away. But like this guy was saying, he wants to get these guys in shape, wants to get them ready, and they weren't going to play for like 4 or 5 days.
Yep.
Kolek looks good. Listen, is it Hook Porty? Or no? Who was the center guy?
Hook Porty.
Was it Hook Porty who looked really good?
Hook Porty is, yes. He's the guy that we drafted this year.
Good.
That, know what? Hey, my man CP is in the chat right now. He just said it. That man Jericho Sims about to get that his roster spot taken over while Mitch is out. Yo,
yeah, man.
Hook Porty, I texted you last night. I said, is Hook Porty better than Mitch right now?
Strong,
I mean, better than Sims right now? Yo,
he's definitely better, Nick. Sims is good, but Sims got to do something with his countenance because he always looks like kind of like, like Rain Man shit. I mean, come on, man, wake up.
Right. He's always got that faraway stare going on. Like he's looking through you.
Right, dude. I don't need that shit, man. We're not Marines on the battlefield. I don't need the 1,000-yard stare. Wake up. I'm right here.
Yeah.
He's, I don't know. I like Jericho, but
I don't know about Jericho, but Brunson looked bouncy.
You were predicting Jericho was going to have a breakout season.
Of course I am. I'm mostly optimistic Knicks, Jets, and Mets fans. No, man. Yeah, I was definitely.
You're off the Jericho train.
And these two, especially looking at what he did on the floor as compared to what Hook Porty was doing, and just the overall, like you said, he's got a live body. He's very lithe as well, and
intense.
he seems to be just bringing a certain level of focus and intensity that I've never seen out of Sims. And
no, Nick signed some 7-2 guy today.
They did. Okay, I'll look that up here at some point. But Brunson looked very bouncy. Okay, like you said, the pick and roll between he and Cat is going to be such a problem for opposing defenses to deal with. Cat's ability to pass the ball is going to change everything when it comes to Brunson being able to give it to him, make that quick cut. And we saw some of that with Hartenstein. It's not really Julius's strength. Julius's assists are going to be from him drawing attention and firing it out to a three-point shooter typically. And when you see with Cat is the ball never sticks. It never, ever sticks. He gets the ball and he either attacks or he immediately gives it up and he relocates, and him standing out at that three-point line and being such a threat opens up the entire floor. What you see when you watch in these couple preseason games is if you kept Julius on this team, now that you add a guy like Bridges who likes to get into the paint, likes to get into that midi level and, work around that, the elbows and whatnot, that starts getting a little bit clogged if you can't take that guy and have him just park out and be at the three-point line and really be a threat. And that's what Cat brings. Bridges, by the way, we are going to love watching Mikal Bridges play basketball. He's one of these guys that just does everything right. He's so versatile. He can do everything from every level. He's a 3-level scorer. The defense with him and with OG, man.
Nick, those arms and Nick, they're going to get so many steals. And Brunson's, if you want to make a bet, Nick, what's the over/under on Brunson's average assists per game? His number is going to really rise, Nick.
It's probably it's probably around 6. And then, if you want to say that he's going to, he's going to average more assists than he's ever averaged in his career. I definitely see that happening, especially when Cat starts hitting some shots, which he was not doing yesterday. He ended up shooting 7 for 20, but he did score 23 points, also had 12 rebounds. And one of the things I loved about it was he didn't seem bothered by it at all. Like, he was missing shots and he was like, he was almost kind of laughing at himself, but his demeanor and what he was giving off was not like, damn, I can't hit the broadside of the barn, which he really couldn't. I mean, he was not shooting well for the vast majority of the game. And all of a sudden, a couple get in, he gets to the line. That's one thing from Julius is that if Julius isn't getting buckets, he doesn't always find a way to still have like if Julius shoots 7 for 20, he's not scoring 23 points. Okay. He's just not. That's not the way his game was. And, he would be wearing it when he got to that point. And Cat was not wearing it at all. Continue to stick with it. Continue to take the shots that he knows he can hit. Absolutely. And he is a better defender than I anticipated. I was really keen on him and watching his rotations and things like that. And he's active and he's early when it comes to the rotations. He's not late. And that size allows him to challenge people at the rim. I love Julius. I love Ragu. But you look at this team and you think to yourself, this is a better fit than Julius was. It sucks, man. I hate to say it, but it just, even in just a couple preseason games, man, you can see it. It's a better fit.
It is. Julius, he's probably going to do his thing in Minnesota, but I do think it's a better fit. I think we're seeing that. I think we're going to see more and more evidence of that as we go along. I think we're going to be a formidable team, but listen, there might be some growing pains. There's no doubt about that.
Of course.
I think that Cat is going to play some of his best ball now because he's home, because he's playing for Tibbs. I think he really wants to come out and prove himself here.
And he just got traded. Listen, you're a number 1 pick and you end up getting traded from the team. Right. You have to be like, yo, what the fuck? He's got something to prove.
And like you said, Nick, the court is so wide open. Oh, my God. I feel like every time somebody drives the lane, they got the whole lane, even when it was Brunson or Cat and whatnot. And then you got the defense with these guys. It's going to be a really interesting season to see how other teams deal with it because we have so many guys who can shoot. If one guy's off, the other guy's on, and we're going to be crashing the boards. It's going to be really interesting. I like the rebounding I saw from OG last night. I was impressed with his aggressiveness on the glass. He was really getting it done.
More aggressive on offense, too. He was being a little bit more aggressive on offense, putting the ball on the floor. He looked like he had a little bit bigger of a bag than typical. Like he's been working on some things in the offseason. Right. He's still extremely shaky when it comes to handling the ball once he gets into the paint. That ball, that ends up in unless he's, good, can go straight up for the dunk, that ball ends up in a strip or just him mishandling it and it going out of bounds so often. OG needs to be decisive. When he starts trying to make too many moves, that's when things go bad.
I think you're going to see much more assists too from Brunson, which I saw last night. When he gets in the lane, other guys are going to possibly cut, either coming, baseline or something,
Bridges
and
is an
he's
excellent cutter.
right, and he's going to be dishing the guys, making that happen, man. That it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. I think also too we're going to draw a lot of fouls, man. And I
Oh yeah,
love the fact that this guy Cat's a 90% foul shooter. Okay,
absolutely.
everybody's a decent foul shooter. We're going to do well. I'll miss Dante, but listen, man, this guy Shamit. You seen that meme I sent you where he's like, "I'm the Dante now." You
Yeah,
know,
Shamit's not going to play much. I don't think. I don't think that he's
he's
going
going
to
to
play a
play Nick
ton.
on that second unit.
I
What's
don't.
up
I
with your
don't think
man
so.
campaign?
I was just about to say, man, it's amazing to hear me of all people saying this, but I like what I'm seeing out of campaign.
They were
He's
playing together,
solid, man. Well, yeah,
but
it's
no
going to be
Deuce.
no Deuce, and then also where does Kolek fit in that? Which Kolek looks like he's ready to contribute. He's had
Yes,
a very efficient, very productive couple games here. Obviously he can move the ball. He's shooting 60% from the field. He's hitting threes. He's doing little Brunson type shit where he's getting in the lane and getting off 2 feet and making it
excellent
happen.
feel for the game.
Excellent feel for the game. He was really helping out Huckporty. I'm telling you, if I'm Sims, I'm like, yo, can I get some time on the floor with this guy Kolek?
Yes,
Because he's feeding big men and
at just the right time.
at just the right time. I mean, he's a fantastic distributor of the basketball. You don't lead the nation in assists without that being the case. And now we play against Minnesota on Sunday, so we're gonna get to see Dante. I don't know if Julius is playing in games just yet. I don't know. I know he didn't play in their
Fine.
first game. He didn't. The first game where Ragu went off. Ragu had a big
Right.
first preseason game. Julius did not play in the game. He was in street clothes. I'm sure he's still working back from that shoulder, and I'm sure they're going to be extremely cautious with him. And I just
listen,
think
I
that
heard your man Mitch is definitely not back till 25.
yeah, till January. So we're gonna need either a Huckporty or a Huck Party or a Sims to step up. And
Right.
Precious looked good yesterday. Precious
looked good.
Precious
looks
looked good.
Yeah.
He
He
looked
looks bouncy.
yeah, looks very very bouncy. And there was his 3-point shot. It didn't fall, but it looked a little bit more confident than I've seen from him before. And I'm just telling you, man, look, Josh Hart, when he's on the floor with those other 4 guys in the starting lineup, all of a sudden now he was kind of running a little bit of point guard and getting into the lane and kicking it out to guys and things like that. If he can shoot 34% from 3, we're golden. That's all I need from you. I need you to shoot 34%. I don't even need you to be a 40% and high 30s guy. Shoot 34%. Don't be a guy who guys are like literally stepping back from. And I think if he can do that, that makes us a much, much more dangerous team. Can't wait for this season to get started. It's right around the corner. We got 12 days away. We got the season opener in Boston, the last year's champs. We go up there, we take it to them, blow them out, put the whole league on notice.
Let's go. I like it all, Nick. And hey, man, it's going to be a very exciting season. I know all Knicks fans are looking forward to it. I can't wait. I mean, listen, we'll see, but I'm very pumped up for this season and what we got going forward. And I think Tibbs is going to do a good job of making these guys work. How long do they stay in Charleston? When are they coming back home?
I'm not sure the exact date, but typically it's going to be usually you play the last preseason game, and from there you leave camp.
Okay. And when is the first game again? Date?
22nd. The 22nd.
Okay, that's right. I don't remember seeing that. All right. Well, can't wait.
Before we get out of here, did you by chance catch wind of LeBron complaining about taking the flight to Milwaukee?
I just read a headline, but what? He was just upset that and I will tell you, Nick, usually in preseason, they don't really go that far cross country, no? They just stay on the coast or in the area.
I mean, Minnesota's coming to us.
Right.
Or do we go to Minnesota?
I don't know.
But we're playing against Minnesota.
We're coming from South Carolina.
Yeah, well, we're one of the few teams that decides to do camp away from their actual home facility. But yeah, Minnesota is coming to us. So I mean, I teams do travel for preseason. I know, we've played the Bucks before, and we've definitely traveled to them for preseason. The exact thing that he tweeted was, "Can someone please explain to me why we're getting on a plane and heading to Milwaukee for one preseason game?" I just thought it was a little tone deaf by LeBron.
It's tone deaf, and dude, if you have that beef, talk to your team about it. Talk to your the GM about it, whatever. Why are you putting that? I don't understand why these guys have to have all of their conversations publicly.
Right.
Why you just shut the fuck up? How about that?
Right,
There's a
right.
choice.
Well, Richard Jefferson actually tweeted back at him, bro. I'm surprised you're on that plane. He said, I'm surprised at myself. Yeah, if it's that big of a deal, then you talk to them and you say, hey, I don't want to take this trip. But I mean, what? Oh, going on this chartered flight on a luxury,
Poor Bronny.
plane is just so hard. Like, come on, LeBron. I
And
mean,
again, beyond that, why do you have to say it on Twitter?
I just found it very weird. I find it weird because LeBron seems like a guy who is so concerned with his image and seems like he's very calculated in how he communicates with the media and with the general public. So for him to say that, I found that to be a little bit weird. And you have to understand that the rest of us in real life who have real jobs and have to drive commutes upwards of an hour every single day to and from are going to look at that and say, I mean, wah.
Right.
Come on, Bronny.
It's a total wambulance.
Come on, LeBron. Like, I just thought it was poor form for him, and it wasn't what you expect from him. And I'm sure if you asked him now, he would probably take it back from all the backlash.
It's just silly.
It's just silly. There's just silly. It's just not necessary, and it's a total lack of reading the room.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
All right. So, last but not least, the segment that everybody is waiting for. We find out who you got. Let's go ahead and go with the big guy locks. All right, big guy, talk to me. 3 games against the spread this Sunday and or Monday, I guess Thursday. It's all on the plate. What do you got, big guy?
All right. So first here, I'm going to take the Bears -2 over the Jaguars. Okay, that's in Chicago, Soldier Field. I think the Bears can get that done. I think this guy, their quarterback, the young guy, the painted fingernails, he's doing much better. Caleb, yes, he's doing much better. I like what I'm seeing from him. The other game I liked is not the Pack. Oh no, Titans close. It is I like the Lions -3.5 over the Cowboys. That's a risky pick because it's in Dallas. But I think Campbell's going to have them ready to bite off some kneecaps and make it happen. Okay, and then last but not least, Red Rifle. He's not going to get it done. I like the Falcons -4.5 against the Panthers. They're going to bust up the ginger in Carolina. I like the Falcons to win that game. Isn't that the sound that they make?
I listen. I think that's the first time on the show that we've ever had a Falcon sound. I think it maybe should be the last time as well. We got the Bears -2 versus the Jags. You got the Lions -3.5 at the Cowboys, and you got Cousins and the Falcons -4.5. And who are the Falcons playing?
Falcons are playing the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's surprising to me that they're only 4.5.
I know.
Favorite.
Kirko Chains, he's going to get it in.
Yeah, my guy just had 500 yards last year, and after that initial boost that your boy, the Red Rocket had, since then everything has what is it? Red Rifle? My bad.
Red Rifle.
Yeah, Red Rocket is a slightly different. those of you that have male dogs might know what that means, but I just think that at the end of the day, the NFL this year, as somebody who likes to dabble a little bit, donate some money to DraftKings every once in a while, been so hard to call. It's been all over the place. So much parity from one week to another. You got a team that's looking like it could be one of the best teams in the league to losing to a team that nobody expects anything out of. So it's definitely going to be an interesting season to see who ends up at the top of the mountaintop. But in this week, I love those picks. I love the Lions -3.5 at the Cowboys. I think that is a lock for sure. Falcons -4.5, like you said. And then the Jags, they're so schizophrenic. What you see from them from one game to one game, or even from one quarter to one quarter, is a total crapshoot. So, the Bears have been getting. You're not a Trevor Lawrence guy?
Well, no, it's been going south for him. I loved him in college. But, pros, it hasn't worked out that well for him. I mean, not as well as we all thought, but, he's still got time to figure it out, man. I mean, he's got all the attributes Can he figure it out?
Yeah, definitely a tough season for him. But hey, just because you take a guy at the top of the draft, just because he has some, some talent and some, some arm talent and some skills, as we know, when the things aren't right around him, the slightest bit of adversity and it can all look totally different. We've seen it enough times as Jets fans. And after Lawrence goes and gets that money, now we're seeing a little bit of it from him.
Who knows, man? I mean, I wish the kid well, but yeah, it hasn't worked out that well for him. And like, I mean, listen, man, that boy and what's his name, C.J. Stroud and this kid
Jaden
Daniels,
Daniels.
they make it. They're making everybody look bad because they are so damn good, man. That boy Jaden Daniels, Nick, holy smokes! I'm just praying that I'd like to see. I don't know why. And somehow in the recesses of my mind, I want to believe that Jordan Travis is going to be like a mini Jaden Daniels.
I hope so. Everybody that is tied to Florida State, including your son-in-law, my brother-in-law, and a couple other people I've talked to,
we got to ask him about Downey.
They speak so glowingly about him. As far as this guy Jordan Travis, and hey, hopefully he can sit this year. He can sit next year. The Jets can win a Super Bowl, and then he can go ahead and take over. That would be great.
Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. Please follow, like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification button on all platforms. Really appreciate all the love. You can find us on all socials at @he_did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you, kid. Let's go, Mets.